Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Berman, the host of the Cyber Hero Adventure Show. We're so glad for who you are and what you do and why you do it. On behalf of a grateful digital universe, thanks for everything that you do. We have a very, very special show today. We're going to be talking about the NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association, and a super cool initiative they have called CyberShare. It's all from the small broadband provider ISAC. And speaking of which, let me introduce Scott Algeier. Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Doing great, Gary. Thank you. How are you doing today?
Welcome to the show. So I have to begin by asking, are you a glutton for punishment? Because you've been with us multiple times. Why do you keep coming back?
Yeah, I enjoyed talking with you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I appreciate it as well. And speaking of appreciating wonderful people, let me bring to the show Jill Canfield. Hey, Jill, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you.
It's so nice to see you. And
Nice to see you.
thank you. And from what I understand, you're really the person who does the actual work. Is that true, or is that just kind of a rumor?
Well, I do some of the work anyway.
And what kind of work do you do over there?
Well, I'm actually General Counsel and Vice President of Policy at NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association. And the CyberShare initiative falls under my group, and we're really, really excited about it. We think it's a great thing, and we hope more of the rural broadband providers, small broadband providers across the country take advantage.
Yeah, I'm sure they will once they learn all the cool stuff that you're doing. Speaking of cool stuff, hey, Josh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So tell our audience a little bit about your origin story, Josh. That's a term we use in comic and superhero creation. So I'm going to put you on the spot. And where'd you come from and how did you get here?
Well, I've been with Reliance Connects here for 13 years and really started from the ground up as a tech and through administration and network ops. And now I'm the IT manager here at Reliance. And I would say I wear multiple hats, and security is one of those. Obviously, as much as I can anyway.
Well, you realize it was a perfect segue. I wasn't going to actually do this, but since you talk about wearing multiple hats, I had to do this. The Cyber Hero Network. That's our cool hat. Let's welcome to the show, Dustin Richter. Hey, Dustin, how you doing?
Hey, Gary. Thanks for having me today. Doing great.
Thanks for being with us. So tell us a little bit about your origin story. Like, what do you do in a typical day?
Sure. So my typical day is as a data network engineer and then a security engineer. I spend a lot of time in and out of firewalls and other security solutions and being the hated guy within the company. I'm the no man.
The hated guy in the company?
Well, at some point you have to be the no man, and that's what I am.
Oh, okay, I get it. In other words, when someone wants to do something, you have to say no.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to make sure to not ask you to do anything during today's show. So speaking of today's show, what brings us together is a super cool initiative. Scott, maybe you can take our audience through the whole idea of CyberShare. First of all, what does the name mean?
Sure. So CyberShare, we're sharing information about cyber threats within the community of small rural broadband providers, small broadband providers. And these are the telecommunications companies that serve rural America, where the national carriers typically don't have a presence, or these rural providers have customers that they serve that they need to be secure, or these providers have networks themselves that need to be secure. So CyberShare provides an opportunity for these providers to come together, talk about how to better secure their networks and how to help keep their customers secure.
That's a really, really important mission. And one of the things that I've listened and learned a lot about over this last year is that criminals are kind of horizontally organized. They share information freely. There are like Yelp rating systems for the quality of an illegal, X. But the defenders are a little bit more vertically structured. some of which is because of government regulations and intellectual property and competition and that kind of stuff. It seems like what your mission is to try to start solving that problem, right?
Yep, I think that's true. We start to solve that problem, but also, different companies have different needs, right? The needs of IT companies are not necessarily the same as healthcare companies, although they both use IT networks. So CyberShare is an opportunity to bring this community of broadband providers in rural America, small broadband providers together to talk about their unique threats, their unique challenges. As you've heard Dustin and Josh both talk about their roles in cybersecurity, but we'll talk more as we get into this. The cybersecurity teams are not huge, right? They don't have some of the same resources that large corporations do. So CyberShare provides an opportunity for these companies who are facing similar challenges, both in terms of technology, budget, who their customer serving a rural customer base. So there's a lot of unique challenges that are unique to this industry, and bringing these, having a forum where these companies can talk about these challenges and the threats that they're facing, and provide them curated information that's specific to their needs, helps to increase their risk management capabilities and their resiliency.
Indeed. And so, Jill, we heard a little bit earlier in general terms about your membership. Would you be kind enough to describe for our audience, dimensionalize it, the number of members or the sizes or the geography or the density, things like that?
Sure, happy to. So NTCA represents about 850 rural broadband providers. They're all fiber providers serving rural areas. They serve, I believe, about 5% of the nation's customers, but 35% of the nation's landmass, to give you an idea of where they are. Wow. And customer bases range anywhere from less than 100 subscribers to more than 50,000 subscribers. So there's a pretty diverse group. And the density of the areas they serve, I think, is average to around 7 subscribers per square mile, compared to the 130 or so, 150 or so that the large providers serve per square mile. So these are small companies serving rural areas, offering but the latest and greatest in technology to their people, community based. They're all located in the communities that they actually serve. So they run into their subscribers at church and at the grocery store, and so they have to provide good service. So they're going to hear about it.
Oh, that's really interesting. So it's not even call centers. You can be at a local grocery store and get something fixed. That's really a great, unique proposition of what you're doing. Well, thanks for that. And so what does a typical sort of day look like for you in your work in terms of taking care of network responsibilities and customers, and how do you decide what you're going to do on a given day?
So on any given day, it's a mix of things. You like anybody, start the day off hoping to have a set itemized list of what you're going to get done. And when you wear this many hats, it ends up starting off with, I'm going to work on this security initiative that needs done. And very quickly that's scrapped to work on a network outage, or work on a customer turnip that needs expedited. It really varies. The downside of that is that first initiative, that security initiative that was why we're here, got scrapped and got pushed to the back burner until another day.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing, isn't it, Josh? Because what a lot of small to medium-sized businesses across all sectors of the economy have the same sort of operating conditions that you're describing in different ways. And yet many don't think that they're likely targets for hackers and cybercrime. What's your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. I mean, I think no one thinks it's going to happen to them, of course. And, from my perspective and, what we've tried to do from a security standpoint is really, it's a lot like insurance, right? I mean, just to some degree, to find the biggest things that we can do to lower our risk, right? For those events to happen, to not be on CNN, right? To limit those exposures. And, I echo what Dustin's been saying about, you have to pick your battles. And unfortunately, security is never, in that top 5 because it's never on fire. I mean, until it is, but definitely a challenge.
Well, I think, Scott, coming back to you, that's what I think makes this incredibly interesting, your particular mission here, which is to provide a suite of services that your members can easily and in a cost-effective way gain access to give them some of the similar resources that their larger counterparts maybe just take for granted.
Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of what we do is we provide kind of a level 1 analyst capability for the members of CyberShare. We're monitoring the industry news. We're monitoring information that comes in from DHS. We're monitoring other sources of information and other relationships that we have, and we're providing a daily update to these members as to what's important, why it's important, steps that they can take to mitigate whatever threats that are ongoing that day. If there are high-profile items in the news, whether it's a zero-day vulnerability that's being exploited, a new ransomware strain that's been announced, we provide analytic reporting on that, or breaking news reports. It's a little bit of truth detecting so members can understand why this is important and why it's meaningful and steps that they can do to mitigate these threats. But I think just as importantly, or maybe even more importantly, are the twice a month phone calls we have, or Zoom meetings that we provide with the members, where we bring issues to the members, and the members bring issues to the meetings as well, and they get to discuss how they handle some of these challenges, and they share the best practices with each other. They share tips that have worked in the past, and they help each other overcome some of the challenges that they have.
Yeah, I mean, it seems, Jill, maybe you can opine on this, that it's a very efficient and really cost-effective way to bring in high-level experts who would not normally be available to people, and it's really kind of a virtual sort of helper. Right? How do your members access this? Is it a subscription? Tell us about that.
Sure, it's a subscription service. Once a member joins CyberShare, they are entitled to have up to 3 people from their company participate, and then they receive the daily threat indicator, weekly technical analysis, and have the ability to participate on those twice monthly calls. In addition, we've made some little add-ons available, a training video for staff that they can share with their people to help them be better, have better cyber hygiene. And, we did this in part because we recognize that not every company has a person who can spend their day combing through all of the information about all of the threats that they're out there. So we wanted to make that available to them in a way that was efficient and timely.
And, one of the interesting aspects of this particular, profession is confidentiality. And so how do you, deal with that? Let me turn that over to you, Josh. And, are you, or said a different way, are you comfortable, disclosing threat information or breach information? You mentioned earlier, like, oh, we don't want to be on CNN, I mean, it's a real thing, reputational risk. I mean, everyone knows. So how comfortable, let's say, is in the organization, not to put you on the spot, but generally, are people, sort of sharing in the ways that you had hoped, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely of the mind of, as you mentioned earlier, right, threat intelligence and sharing not only what the threats are, but what others are experiencing, in the real world is super important. And, people who know me in the industry will, I'm super grateful when people do formal briefs on what happened to them, so we can learn from each other, as these things happen. It's so important. And I literally make a purposeful intent to thank those people for sharing, because I truly believe it is important to, just bettering everyone's threat posture, really.
And what was it like at first? I mean, one of the things, again, that I've learned in this experience is this is an industry that uses this concept called zero trust. In other words, you can't get any less trustworthy than zero unless you go to negative numbers or something. I mean, how long does it take to earn the trust and the confidence of other members of the small broadband provider ISAC?
Well, I think sharing information with cyber share program is very well curated, I would say, and maybe Scott or Jill can go into more details there on the processes, but through the traffic light protocols and the secure methods of transmission and the options to submit anonymous reports, they have provided a framework to really do this with very little reputational risk anyway, but still, get the benefits of sharing the actual information.
Yeah, indeed. That's a really good insight too. And Dustin, so what is your experience as well? Can you share with our audience, you may or may not be able to, kind of a use case or a case study where the ISAC, helped in tangible ways? I don't know if you can reveal that or not. But.
Sure. There's been, and I think we all know of a lot of the breaches over the last year and a half that have come up and been more high profile. Many of us rural broadband providers were hit with those. And within these groups and within the cybershare community, we were able to rapidly start sharing data, at first anonymously. And as time went on, when we started making our PR events, we were able to open our name up there and really start providing the other members with what we were doing and hearing from them on what they were doing to navigate these waters when oftentimes we were in the dark. And the Cybershare program also brought a lot of info from and additional data from other ISACs and government agencies to help us navigate these waters when I think even at a federal government level, there was a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like SolarWinds or Kaseya or
exactly
all that kind of stuff, supply chain attacks and everything. Interestingly,
yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of sharing, you have a wonderful event coming up, and in full disclosure to our audience, I'm privileged to be the closing speaker of that event, and we're also going to be autographing comics there. So we hope you'll decide to join us. It should be wonderful. Jill, you want to share with our audience a little bit about the upcoming event? What are the logistics, things like that?
Sure, I'm happy to. So we're really excited to have you, Gary. It's going to be a really great event. It's in Dallas, Texas, October 13th through the 15th, and I'm going to be there, and Scott's going to be there, and hopefully Dustin and Josh will then. Did not confirm with that in advance. And it's our Cybersecurity Summit, and we'll be having a whole bunch of guest speakers talking about really relevant and interesting topics. And the intent of the program is, again, to help make sure that the folks who come are better prepared for any attacks that come their way, a better cyber hygiene, and better resiliency in their networks.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, one of the things that attracted me to the opportunity of sharing with you is, as a small business owner, I'm a big fan of protecting small businesses, and people don't think they have anything worth hacking until it happens. And then, so you want to be as proactive and as prepared, as you possibly can. So as we're starting to wrap up, Scott, we began with you. Is there tell our audience, please, how they can register to the event and how they can subscribe to the Cybershare program.
Sure. So for Cybershare, the website is cybershare.org, and that's the best way to learn more about the program. I need to defer to Jill for the conference registration for the NTCA event that's upcoming in Dallas that she just referenced.
Sure. You just go to ntca.org and click on events, and you'll see it there. And just click on register. We hope folks join us.
And just from my own understanding, is this the first event focused on cybersecurity that you're having, or have you had others prior?
No, this is an annual event that we've had for the
great.
past few years now. So we've been gradually building up our network of speakers and our experts and trying to bring more prominence to make sure that we are representing the needs of the small companies.
Indeed. And, one of the unfortunate but fortunate aspects of this particular, topic is you don't have to build awareness about it. I mean, just wake up in the morning, you'll see it on the news or on the internet or, somewhere. My hope is that dials down at some point, but at least not for the foreseeable future from what we can tell. Jill, is there anything else you'd like to amplify before we move over to Dustin?
Well, one thing I would like to make people aware of is we're holding a breached event, which we're super excited about. CyberShare has teamed up with Booz Allen Hamilton to offer a half-day breach exercise where folks will actually go through and experience a virtual breach where they'll be put into teams and
did you say put into tears like crying or
no teams? Maybe they'll be crying at the end, but
no, because tears would be good. You want to get that out of the way.
no teams. They'll be in teams and they will. It's a war game type exercise, but with a ransomware experience, and it's being sponsored by NTCA as one of the sponsors, but also all of the other organizations that represent rural broadband providers. So we have several associations and groups participating as sponsors. So we're really hoping for a great turnout, totally free for everybody. This is something we're doing to, again, just make sure that folks are aware of all the things they're going to need to do if they do experience a breach.
And how do they get information about that?
That will be on the CyberShare webpage. They can go right there, cybershare.org.
And when is it?
The registration is going to open on the 29th of October, and the event will be held on December 9th. And if we fill up the first event, we'll have a rollover date.
Wow, that's cool. I wonder if I could be a fly on the wall. I love things like that. I have no idea what it is or anything, but it's still really interesting. So that's great. Well, thanks for that. Dustin, final word from you. Anything you'd like to amplify?
I think just the continuation of the drive for more secure and more open communication. The white hat.
Yep, indeed. And last but not least, Josh, thanks for being so patient.
Yeah, I think, as we've said, CyberShare is, I can confirm that for us, it has given us, a portal into the daily churn of security events that has helped us, focus in on what is needed rather than, and filtering all the noise out. So I think for us, it's been valuable. And I would say there probably a week does not go by where there isn't a link or a topic that gets that has come from the program that has caused a chain of events or discussions or even action items that has ultimately helped us become more secure. So I think it's a great program.
Indeed, a rising tide does lift all ships. And so on behalf of a grateful digital universe, a special thanks to our guests today. We'll see you at the conference in Dallas, and make sure to check out CyberShare. We'll have links in this show as well, so you can learn more about it. So, and for our special guests, thanks so much for who you are and what you're doing and why you do it.
Thank you, Gary.